Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on the SortTables data viewer, and lately we're trying to create a new form of queries where you can rename the columns. And to do that, we're going to do some refactoring and extract a ColumnSelection object. Okay, we left off with, well, not even a compiling situation here. We had the notion of a table selection, and it had in it the columns is a set of strings for the ones that are visible, and then it referenced the metadata for all the columns. We've extracted out this columns object, and we are just to the point of basically we're going to replace methods using the old set of strings with this new list of a new map of column objects. So for the map, we get the columns, the values, and we wanted to sort it, and it complains about comparable, but I think that's not the real thing. I added this just as we were leaving yesterday, $0.name. We have to get the name out of these column descriptions. So I think what we want to do really is get the name first. So these values, they're the individual items coming out of that dictionary. So the dictionary is a string to a column selection built from it. And so columns, the values are all the column selections. We should take the map first, and then our column selections don't have to be ordered. Just the strings are, which that's a default ordering. They'll come out alphabetical. So I think as we're starting to create this, that's not really needed. Okay, now I think that'll build, and I think it'll pass the test too. And I had not run that today, so a little startup here. All right, selection. Well, let's just go to the failing tests. Okay, so C1, C2, the original table, but all columns should be metadata.columns. Maybe they weren't alphabetical. Doesn't matter. Well, what this makes me wonder is if this really needs to be a set instead of a list. Well, here they're sorted. Let's look at that test again. Okay, keep this up while we're working here. Actually, put it right here. Okay, so all columns, C1, C2 is not equal to metadata.columns. Gosh, I want to say sorted. Let's look at that metadata. Columns. Well, he's certainly, Okay, now that's, maybe that's not unexpected. Right, okay. Okay, so I think I've created my own problem because I assume metadata will sort, but I didn't sort it in my code. So I think that should be the same. So I think that will be better. Okay, and let's just run all tests. All right, so make all columns work from the dictionary rather than metadata. All right, get all columns from the columns map. All right. So in effect, what we're doing is this kind of, we're doing this sort of parallel change. So what we started with was this set, and now we're making a dictionary, and we have both implementations are working. So we want to make sure if we change anything, we change it in both. Toggle tables not relevant, but toggle column is. So, you know, if we make sure that we change everything consistently in both things at the same time, then you should be able to go to either one as a source of truth. And then we can knock out the old one at a time, and it should all work. Okay, so with toggle column, we want to, let's see, I guess what we want to do is we want to mark an item as active or not, depending it. Now this current way, we use a set, but I'm sort of assuming that column selection is going to know this. All right, and I think this can be a let. Let's make sure that builds. We don't intend to change the original name, and original name might be a better name for it too. Let's make that change. Okay, minor, but from our earlier work, we know it's better to keep track of them very clearly. All right, so renames. Okay, so we have is active flag, and what we want to do is get the correct column. That's still our key. All right, so let's say columns sub column name dot toggle. Okay, and then column selection. Let's give it a toggle method. All right. Oops. Okay. Self is immutable. Well, this may be why we had a similar problem in the other. Column selection must be unwrapped. Yes, that's part's true. Which I think we can do that. Oh, is it okay? All right. So this should be no harm because nobody looks at that is active yet. All right, now we want to make includes column. I think we want to say well, I want to say and dictionary item is active. Whoops. I want this to be column subcolumn name dot is active, and this to be can I use this? Column subcolumn name is active becomes not equal nil. Well, if it equals nil, no, I don't think this is quite what we want. Well, let's let column equal this. Let's just say if column equals nil, return false, and otherwise return is active and column dot is active. Okay, so we'll set column to be equal to this, which could be nil. It shouldn't, but if it is, we're going to return false. And otherwise, we've got the value. Let's look at it as active. It's included if the table is included and that column is active. Okay, if the table's not included, we're not going to include any of its columns. All right, and this is one of these switches. Yeah, you're right. Get your comments a touch slow, but I'll get there. Yeah, so we can use bang here because we've established it's not going to be nil by the time it gets here. All right, so this should pass. And again, we're replacing a bit at a time. All right. Well, let's take that. Yeah. Okay. All right. And so let's see who's using this anymore. I think there's just one place. We set it. We return it. Okay, so visible columns we need to do. And these, we sort of displace those. Okay, so let's just replace this. So we need to get, I guess we need column.values.filter. All right, and each one of these values is one of our column selections. So $0 is active. Okay, so whoops. Expansion of macro columns. Values.filter. Okay, so if whoops, cannot return expression type string. Okay, yeah, we got to map them. Okay, columns value. Keep the active ones. Map it to, well, we're still doing original name. That's all we know about so far. Okay, that should give us an array of strings. And again, well, I would say it should be sorted. And maybe, and I think this one's tall enough, it should really be multi-line. Okay. I may be able to get rid of the sorted, but for now, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just keep it. We'll come through later if there's a performance issue, then we'll address it. I don't think there is. It's not going to be a big list. It's usually, I don't know, 5 to 10 is very common. Even if you had 50, that's just not that big a list. Let's see what the complaint is here. Okay, sure enough. All right. So we use dictionary to determine the visible columns. Got a bad habit of tweaking a character or two or deleting something just before I check in. I need to start breaking that. All right, let's take this out. Okay, now oldVisibleColumns, I think we're down to just these usages, and meaning it's not really being used. It's being set but never read. Okay, we create it. We check, well, we're doing the toggle on it. Toggle. Okay, so I think we can remove this. All right, that should pass all our tests. Now, sort change configuration. Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think order is critical. The problem is we're throwing things in a dictionary and they come out in random order. So. it's actually the old way where it kept it in a sorted list. I think worked out the same, but we can go see who's using this. If it may not be needed. And actually that may not have mattered there either, right? Because it was in a set before. Well, I deleted it, but it was in a set before. I guess I could look. Visible columns. Toggle. Oh, I guess from the tests we're seeing, somebody was looking at old visible columns, so we'll have to look at them to decide. Okay. But it maybe the usages of this are not going to care about the order. Working schema doesn't really care. And this doesn't either. I think we can leave that off. Okay. Actually, I should put it back on, figure out what these tests are. They were snooping. TableSelection set old visible columns. Well, that's really... I think that was kind of a snoopy test. It really should have been asking visible columns for the answer there. So new table.visible columns should be that. All right. Visible columns we compare to the set. I think we should compare the set here then. Oops. And I think that's sort of a legitimate way to handle stuff that you don't care about the order, but you want to make sure that's the right contents. Visible columns. Well, it doesn't need to be a set if it's just one thing. Okay. Now, I think I can take this sorted off. Yeah, so the real use of these, the usage of visible columns was for the purposes of creating the database query, which doesn't care what order the clauses are in. And so the sorting doesn't matter. The tests may care, but we made sets out of the ones that had more than one entry. Okay, so let's make sure this is still good. C2, C1. Well, he's assumed the order. Schema.headers is an array. Okay. I think we'll do the same trick. Let's take the set of schema.headers and a set of answers. Well, I messed something up. Header C2. Well, I don't want to make them hashable if they're not already. All right. Let's undo this. Try another different approach. So we get the headers C1, C2. I don't know if I can do dot contains. Oh, was there? Oh. But I think because they're not hashable, that didn't matter anyway. Yeah, I don't think it, even with that misformatting, because headers is not, you can't make it equal a set. All right, so schema headers contains C1, C2. I think that's correct. And then the failing here, C1, C2. Okay, visible columns. Let's take the set. All right. So over here, we've basically removed old visible columns and dealt with the consequences of that. Okay. All right. So our to-do, well, this was probably finish replacing old visible columns set with a dictionary of ColumnSelection. Okay, so let's run and make sure. I think because we didn't really change the interface of the table selection object, that from the perspective of a client of it, it doesn't really know what's going on, so it's not going to care. Whoops. We got an issue there. Oh, I guess that was this. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to change that, but sooner than later. All right, but this still selects the right thing. But this That's really annoying. All right, let's go back to, well, it's probably one table view. Selectable table button. Really? It's the button's toggle. I mean, the button has the action for toggling on it. What's going on? I don't think, and we saw that before we replaced the toggling on the is active, so I don't think it's necessarily that. But this should not toggle all those. Let's make sure toggle table does the right thing. Is active.toggle. Okay, is active is just a field on ours, right? And then what about this? Includes column. I mean, if the tables, this is more the interaction. If the table's active, these are active. I think it's got to be something up in here or in the parent. I mean, it's certainly if you click on the button, but I don't understand why clicking on this does that. HDAC. Oh, is that, no? I think that's just this part. Whoops. I mean, I can understand if it did something, but why would it? I think something must be a little funny somewhere. I mean, to me, this looks like the button. This is the table button, so that really is acting. I mean, it's an action on the button. I don't see why it would act on that. All right, let's go to the one table. One table view. Okay, you have our selectable button. Color. Button, add table. That should really be duplicate, shouldn't it? But that's not label style. So this should still do its thing, yeah. That still deletes. Maybe there's some table style thing I set up. No? Change of rename table to rename. Alert. Can't delete last table. Okay, that all seems good. Oh, welcome to... Whoa. Sorry, I don't know why that... I saw it come on very quickly. You need to stop watching my stream for something, and then the spam detector kicked in. Let me see if I can... Oh, it's complicated to change online. All right. Well, apparently you put an emote in, so put a space in the parts and we'll know. And I'll take a note here to fix that. I had you in. I thought I had fixed both you guys for a little more freedom to post things, but apparently I didn't deal with emoticons. All right. But welcome back. All right. I don't see anything in there, so let's work our way out. This is one table view. Let's go to all tables view. Don't do that. I mean, I do want to delete. Why? Okay, let's stop at the one table view. Oh no, let's go to selectable button. If you press that, I want to know about it. Okay, so print I was clicked. Yeah, something's there. Table wraps the columns. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, this is all tables, and then this is one table, and this is one column. I don't know if that's in one table though. I think it is. Oh no, there's one. We made one column view for that. May as well get it here too. Okay, so I guess I'll put them in a reasonable order. All tables, one tables, selectable button, one column. Okay, that's kind of the real order. Okay, now I don't have anything. If I click the eye, it should say print. If I click it again, it should say print. And if I click it again, I don't know why it's clicking. Limit the button to the eyes. Oh, did I not do that? Well, I think it is. Oh, I see what you're. No, the button ends here. So how is the text part of that button? And how is the spacer after it part of it? What's the deal? This is all selectable button. Then we have that stuff. See what I don't get is these two buttons are on the same H stack. And if I click this one, it says, oh, you must be doing a duplicate. And if I click this one, it says you must be doing a hidden. But if I click here, like, why is it doing this one and not that one? It's like the whole background of one table view is there. Now, what about this one? That's got to be on one table view as well, right? For each idea, one column view. Here's one column view. He has a selectable column button. I mean, he's very similar. Probably similar enough that we could do something about it. I don't know. But he also has a button. Okay, they're both in here. Both very similar. Oh. What are you selecting? Or what do you know? Oh, you know the table selection. One's got toggle table, one's got toggle column. That definitely can be compressed, but I don't know. Yeah, like, 'cause the weird thing is, I mean, I'm in the background here, and it takes that whole thing. So, like, that's got to be something. It's only affecting one table, so I assume it's in one table view. Is there something about what I've done? Well, maybe it is all tables, because this is the list. For each one, he has on delete. I don't know. Maybe there's something. But, like, why would allowing this? Yeah, I don't get it. But okay, let's see what they say. SwiftUI on delete. That's probably the real one. On insert, on move, I don't think that is relevant. This is just going to tell us to do what we did, I think. On delete, perform some function. On delete, perform delete. Database selection dot delete. That. Now, these guys are doing iClicked. They're selectable column buttons. Well, let's print here. Well. Remove the button from the table view. I don't think anything's removing buttons. They're always there. All right, so this should say table I clicked. Whoa. Wowzers. Okay, that's a big surprise. Okay. And I assume I'm going to get table I clicked and all those column I clicked again. Yep. And if I just click a column ID, I get the whole thing again. Yeah. It's like the cell is clicking all of them. Let me take off the on delete thing. I don't know why my suspicions are on that, but no. Okay. Is it something about the list? Let's. I can't even begin to imagine why that would do it. Multidimensional lists. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay. Let's query. Well, I took out the on delete and it still did it. I think I still have. Did I put it back? Yeah, but I think I'm gonna double check, but I'm pretty sure it still failed. Because yeah, I wondered if on delete maybe took over the background because it needed to detect the swipe. Okay, so nothing there. If I do this, I get all the clicks, 3, 5. If I click this one, I guess I get 2. Yeah. All right. And it's anywhere in the whole list row. This sounds to me maybe, I don't know, it's something about lists then. Clicking anywhere in list activates all buttons. That's what I seem to be having. Multiple buttons in a list row. Oh, do I need to tag my buttons? Hey, that sounds like it. Okay. Compile anybody's style except automatic. Okay. It's a problem on tap gesture. On tap gesture will only be applied to the visible area of the text. Transparent areas won't be clickable. I'm good with that. Okay, well, I think we will do that. Right. Let's put on delete back. Okay, and then one table. So it's the selectable table. And this. Okay, let's see what our options are for button. Hopefully it guesses. Okay. Let's get down to the constructors. Action label. Yeah. Maybe I got to make it a text. This whole thing dot. So I'm taking out that. And that. Selection is active, else. Well, no, that's not what I want. Maybe I have to put it up on the individual. Let's see if that helps. I guess I only did one. I probably have to do both. Accessibility trait with tap gesture should include the is button link. Okay, fair enough. All right, so tap this. No. Oh, that's kind of progress. Let's try it again. Oh, I took out the table I clicked message, so. I guess I better put it back. And what's this? Include the is button accessibility trait. Well, I think I can do some more work on how this thing does its thing, but let's do that up here as well and see if we've successfully worked around. Tab gesture. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, I started with the table. Oh, I didn't. Should have printed something though. Okay, maybe that's. Yeah, I think this part's actually legit. Just flipping this one back and forth. Yeah. And we theoretically can change these underneath. That was a decision we kind of made. And that showed up in table selection, right? That's this. It says gray out the columns if the table is inactive. Okay, but when this comes back, I should have some active and some not. Yeah. Okay, so that was table. And I can do column I. Put it back. I don't know why the blank lines are there. Turn it off. Turn it on. Okay. Yes, that does seem to be working. All right. Now, okay, so this is SwiftUI bug ? But can't have multiple buttons in a list row. Use tap gesture instead, and let's find that. Yeah, it was this Stack Overflow. A little long for a commit message. All right. Okay, now let's get this thing back in shape a little bit. This was kind of on my mental reservation list anyway, because it's so close to duplicated. But all right, so that doesn't matter. All right, let's format these first. Okay, so I'm going to flip this. I'm on table first. So selection is active. I'm going to make this part of the property here. So if this is active, use I, else use I.slash. Okay, and then same thing here. Accessibility level, if it's active, use icon included. Otherwise, well, fewer mistakes if I just copy. Icon excluded. Okay, so now I think the two paragraphs are equal, or well, they would be if I'd swap that in for them. If it's active, use I and icon included, and then do a font, then do an on tap gesture with no qualifications. If it's not active, then do I.slash and icon excluded, and the rest the same. So this can go away. That's the kind of laziness I should have dealt with the first time. Okay, and let's do this again. All right, I somehow left one. HDAC. Okay, we'll just take that one out. Trying to make these the same. Now he should still get the button thing, because this it's a way of making a button without being a button. Add traits. Dot is button. Okay. Let's build. That should not complain. Okay, I think it's complaining up here. Yep. All right, let's do the same thing here. Selection includes column of text. Well, if it does, we're going to use I, else I.slash. Okay. And then this, if so, included, else excluded. Kind of wait, and then the traits will do the same way. Whoops. Probably should put it on that one. All right. So includes column text slash I or slash included or excluded. Same font gesture. Okay. Now this can go away. And this can go away. Reformat. Okay. I guess I'll leave the prints for a moment. But, yeah. Okay. Brace above text on line 45. That, oh, you're right. HTAG close the body, close that. HTAG, okay. Make sure that's all formatted right. Oh boy. Okay, let's run that. my editors? No. Okay. I guess I'll run that again. Still got, no, it's just complaining unnecessarily. Okay, so if I toggle this, that marks column and instructor. That should hide them all. Table I. If I toggle name and then turn them back. Okay. I think we're back to what we should be. I don't know what happened. Well, maybe I'm confusing myself. But no, I tried clicking some of these individually and they clicked the whole thing. So I think we were seeing that problem. The fact is this was intentional to say if you mark class invisible, not visible, then all its fields are not visible. Okay, so I think we have taken care of it. Okay, so this is simplify so test is inside parentheses rather than being outside the whole thing. Okay, so I don't know if you, I guess I'll call it a simplification. Okay, now, why are you still complaining? Let's build. White space. Golly. Okay, let's take out this. And this. Now, what I'd like to look at is, I need to pull out something like this. Is everything here? Selection.original table text. So this one, we pass in the text. I think I want to do the same thing here. I'm just going to make you give me the text. So I'm pushing these things to be more alike. In the end, I think this is going to be the difference. Includes column text. Yeah, that's another one. Okay, but let's deal with this first. Okay, so whoever calls this should pass in that. Okay, so build we should see at least one complaint. Okay, so let's say the text is table selection dot original. Okay, so selectable table button. And now this text should just be text. Okay. And do I need to run that? I don't think so. So what's the question here is selection is active. Can I do that as a local question? Okay, so now this is going to be just is active. Okay, so I'm pushing the differences up. Let's do the same thing here. Is active is going to be this. Okay, let's run this. Yeah, maybe that's the thing to do. But it's got to have a difference between how it chooses is active. I guess I don't know if it's, will it be dynamic? And this is dynamic because it comes from selection, which is two-way. All right, so this should just work how it did. So if I turn off instrument, turn off class, turn them back on, instrument's still done. All right. And so that tells me the right things are being selected. Okay. And toggled. Okay. Now, I think body is active eye. Accessibility level includes column. That's is active. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. The only, well, okay, I guess it needs a binding to something then, right? I mean, it's got to call the methods. But we would know that. I don't know if I can, I'm just not sure if I can how I get this to reference this, if it's a separate thing. But let's try it. Selectable button. Yeah, I think maybe just I button. I don't know. That's not a very functional description. I don't know. Is active button? Well, we'll work on the name. Move selection from is active. Remove selection from is active. Well, if I can, oh, accessibility label, I missed one. I think I'm okay. Oh, right, was it an old comment? Okay, so whatever we call this thing, maybe just active button is enough. All right. He's certainly going to be a view. Okay, and then we need all this stuff. Okay, now he's going to complain for two things, right? Text and is active. Declared public, okay. I mean, what I'm thinking is like he's going to have a variable is active, I think he's got to have a binding, because he wants to he wants to toggle it, so he's got to be able to change it. Maybe that's the start. Is bool. Well, no, maybe not. See, I'm somehow thinking I want this to be like active button, and then is active : this, is active. I don't know. Well, text seems like we don't want the text, I think we're saying. Okay. Is nothing goes to nothing. Okay. Well, he doesn't need to be a binding if he's a piece of code. I don't know about his active yet. Okay, so active button's happy, but the rest of it's not. Okay. Well, let's try and take this out. Okay, selection. Okay, he cannot be count. Okay, so he can't be a binding. Whoops. I don't know. Row selection. Can his active be a function? Okay, yeah, I think you're right there. That should be that. It's function. Okay. Now, is active selection dot includes text? I think formatting wise it wants this. Okay, so we've replaced selectable column button with this active button. If it's to find out if it's active, you call this. If you decide to toggle it, you call that. did one too many. Okay, some view. Right. Let's see if this works. Var is active. Prefer void? Oh, really? Okay. Well, this is promising. Can I put it back? Okay. Good. Well, let's take this out then. I guess I want to make sure both buttons can do their thing. And now this is, I don't think anybody's calling this. Okay, these can go. And I think that's okay because their code's one-line code, pretty simple. Okay, now this one, we're going to do an active button again. Replacing the H stack. This should work still. Okay, whatever. All right, but now active is selection.active. And this is selection.toggleTable. Okay. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, so turn this off, turn this off, turn this off, turn it on, off, on. This, ID was left on, these two are left off. I think that's working. Okay. You know, I feel like I've ran into this thing of having to do tap gesture before. I don't know if it was in a list or what. It's been a while, but somehow doing that tap gesture sounds familiar. Okay, so what are we thinking now? So these are both, this is probably not used. I guess the, whoops, where'd that text go? Yeah, I did drop the text, didn't I? Oops. Let's put it back for now. But this kind of makes me feel like it belongs at a different level. We don't need these two classes, really. Okay, that's better. Good. All right. Restore text to selectable table button and selectable column button. Yeah, I don't know if there's widgets around for, or, you know, like React table thing with the dragging columns. The real thing to me is you have to be able to, it can't just drag them and resort the order, or it can't just drag them, which at least some packages I looked at did with when I took a whack at some things in JavaScript. But you need to be able to detect the order has changed and then change the query at that point. In the query, forming the query, we have logic for that, but I don't think it's not replicable in JavaScript. But yeah, and I haven't tried this over a web connection to a remote database to see how bad that is. But I do the queries, restrict the range of the results, like take the first 50 and the next 50 and stuff like that. But if you do it in that, I'd be curious to see the result. Okay, so let's see. So where we are right now, I want to push the text out of selectable column button, and I want to put it where it gets used. Okay. Selectable button, one column view, selectable column button. Well, let's put the text here. And the text was column name. Okay. And selectable column button calls that active button. All right. Yeah, let me make sure that works. Then we'll get rid of selectable column button. Okay, so we've got the text showing up, and these behaviors should be the same. Good. Okay. And this is all preliminary to getting rid of the whole thing anyway. I played a little bit with TCR, which is sort of an alternative TDD-like approach, that if you make a mistake, it reverts what you did, and if you run the test successfully, it commits automatically. When I started the app, they didn't do Mac apps like this with SwiftUI, so it's what I for me as the user personally, a Mac app would probably be more convenient, and that would probably be a good thing to do. Maybe after we do the columns renaming, convert it so it can run as a Mac app would be kind of nice. I don't know. There's a bunch of things that change, like the way the menus and some of the outside stuff, but it'd be a good part of a good project for sure. It definitely would fit the way I want to use it. I would do it on iPad. I mean, I could see using it on iPad a little bit more if you had remote access. Having the database on the iPad's a little less likely. All right, so now I want to get this pulled up to the caller, which was one table. Yeah. No, one column. Okay, so instead of all this, I don't need that line. All right, so active button. Okay, so selection, the text is column name. And the selection is really table selection. Okay. And then the style stuff we want to keep. Now the difference is the text used to gray out. And it still does on that, but on this column, it doesn't gray out anymore because only the button has the text. But I don't think that's bad. Whether you even need to gray it out, I don't know. Let's take out this one. Well, no, let's make it the same first, or make sure that works. Okay, so first and third. Yep. Try it again. Click it while it's there. All right, and then duplicate should not pick up this selection. Good, and did not change that. All right. Good. Okay, so this is gone. Now I'll change this. Do I really need to gray out the line? The slash kind of indicates it. As an iPad app. Yeah, I mean, I'm running on an M1 Mac, and I probably could just run it as an app then. But it'd be nicer to get, more of a Mac style menu and stuff like that in place. All right, so now, I don't know. I don't think that's bad. It doesn't highlight as much though. Yeah, I think I could live with it, but I think it actually benefits from that. So let's put the text back up in here, and we're going to make this an H stack. Ugh. Well, let's just do the whole thing. Okay, so these guys are controlled by that. I don't know, maybe the whole thing should be grayed out. Yeah, let's try that since we're experimenting. That's only, I think, there. And then H stack, put this foreground style. Okay, run that way. We're only doing columns so far, so that should be the only thing that fully grays out. Okay, so gray this out. I think that's okay if I, oops, turn it back on, and let's rename name to class. Oh, I can feel that L getting stickier. I don't really drink anything sticky or eat anything sticky in here. Okay, so I'm changing that. The column name can be the table name. That's okay, I think, because we always qualify them, so you know which one you're after. And now this should all gray out, except this, because we aren't doing this there. I think that's all right. Yeah, I think that's improved. All right, so now selectable button, I believe this is gone. Yeah, that used to call it, no longer does. So let's take this out and run. Really, if it comes up, it's fine. If it compiles, it's probably fine. But just to make sure. Okay, so we deleted. Selectable column button. Okay, well, let's take a break. All right, so 3 or 4 minutes, we'll be back, and we'll do the same thing to selectable table button. And then I think we'll just be left with active button, which I think is good. See you in a few minutes. Okay, welcome back. We're going to do the same thing over on selectable table button. Let's find out where it's called, which is one table view. Up here, I think. Yep. Okay, and we'll put the text up here. Text is this. All right. And then let's move this up. So that is here. And his selection is table selection. Okay. Now the foreground style, we pulled that down to the bottom. Bottom of the H stack. Okay. And then we'll remove the selectable button. Text was original table. The table selection is the selection being used. All right. And run that. And now our class text field should be grayed out when we turn the selection off. All right, so that blanks out that. Yeah, let's give it an alternate name. Class 2 blanks out. Still doesn't blank out these. All right. And I believe that's the last instance of this. The only instance. Right? I don't think we use foundation anymore. Oh, that built. Let's run. Kind of a semi-realistic. Okay, turn this off. They're all grayed out. Back on. They're grayed like before. All right. Okay. Now let's turn these off and just open. We should just see 3 columns. Uh-oh. Something much cleaner, but it's not working. Oh, there it is. Okay. I guess it's that first one is always slow. Always gives me that moment of panic. 10 seconds of panic. All right, 3 columns, so no ID, no foreign key. All right, I'm happy. Let's rename this file. Well, I think we'll check in and then rename and then check in. Okay, remove now unused selectable table button. And this is now active button. Yeah, it definitely got much cleaner. Like I said, I knew we'd been introducing some duplication when we pulled those two out. And again, it's kind of this, I don't know, this has happened to me any number of times. I don't have a good solution, but I find very often there's stuff that is in kind of a hierarchy. Like we have database, table, column, and then we have to have stuff that reflects that. You know, there's different information about a column than a table and different information still about a database. So each one's got a little bit of stuff different, but there's a lot of similarity in how they show and how they work with things. And so you end up with this kind of duplication that we had. And it took a little doing. I mean, this is a little deep into the tricks, you know, to define these as functions and hold variables that hold functions and get called, and you know it's not the first thing you'll learn, but this does give you a much nicer result. And we had the 2 cases for included or not included, as well as the 2 cases for table or column. So we had all 4 combinations originally, and we're down to 1. And I don't think this is any worse. I actually think it's better. Now you could, I mean, you have this a couple times is active, and I don't think that's horrible. But there's a lot of stuff it has to look at in the table to do its job. I think that's natural. I am surprised. I thought there'd be more grief about table selection, and I guess this just shows how good it is about knowing when things have changed and all that. You can change things, you know, so that can happen. All right. But it's nicer. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely easier to come back in sometimes later and see. But you have to kind of, I don't know, I always feel this urge to push through and you know, get the UI out there, pull something out so I can explain it better. I think like all tables, you got nicer when we pulled out one table view and then pulled out the button stuff. You know, each level gets a lot nicer. This one looks pretty good to me. I mean, that's a nice class. This one has a lot more going on, and that's kind of too bad. But I think it's kind of natural in a way, because you know, when you look at our display here, the outer layer of stuff that applies to the whole thing, well, that's not much. It's really just deciding, you know, let's have 1 entry per table. You know, that's about all you're deciding here. Make a list with 1 table per row, and that's fine. And then this one's more complicated because it's doing a bit of management of the table contents itself. Now I could maybe see, you know, this chunk is sort of like, you know, it's sort of like the actual table view, And the other stuff is the column view. It might be worth pulling that out. I don't know. Yeah, let's just add those renamed queries in. Okay. We got an hour. 45 minutes anyway. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll leave this for now, but if I'm ever back in here going like, this is getting complicated, it might make sense to pull this entry out as the table view, and maybe it's a table header view or table something view, and make this thing look like, hey, I've got a table and I've got a bunch of columns, and the rest of this can kind of go somewhere else. Maybe the alert is still good. I don't know, but I'm going to let that be. It just strikes me, this is 2 screens, three screens full of stuff. Suspicious. All right, let's go back. Table selection. All right. Oh, we did rename. And I pulled it out separate, or selectable table button. I pulled it out separately. It'd be a pity if I had to merge it with the next one. And I just try and remember to do that, but I don't always remember. I just think it makes it a little less likely to get mixed up and all that when you pull a rename out. Because that always affects 2 files, right? The project file and the file that you renamed. Okay, so what else we got? Make it so you have to click on the I to turn off the, yes, okay. Worked around a SwiftUI bug and improved view structure. All right, now we're getting closer. All right. Yeah, good enough. Make the query builder add the renamed column name to the queries. So I think, let's see, table selection. I'm going to pull the tests out for a minute. All right. So I guess we do want database selection out here. Okay, so working schema. Well, okay, I think we can. He's got the table selections. I just wonder if this map needs to be published. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I compare these, right, this maintains its stuff as a dictionary, and he's codable, so that's fine. I think he's got the information we need. We can easily map from original table name to revised table name if we added it onto column selection, or column name, revised column name, and pull that into the working column stuff, working table. He has that for tables. I mean, would it make sense to have the original columns and the renamed columns? TableSelection.visibleColumns. Okay, let's start down that path. So this is going to be original columns. I'm just trying to make it a little more parallel. But SQL columns. Yeah, and this you can see that same thing. Let's see. Okay, let's build this. Run the test, make sure that works. It's that same 3-level structure again. I don't know if we have a SQL database, a SQL table. We probably do. All right. We named. I don't know. I might want to put this back at some point. Okay, let's see this database structure. SQL. Where's SQL? There it is. Working schema. Where's SQL column? Okay. Yeah, what I find interesting is we have SQL database, and we have SQL columns. We don't have a SQL table and maybe a SQL column, but it's sort of implicit there. Renamed column names are only for the table view. Should be using them as the add. Yes. Well, I think this. I guess that's why I'm wondering if this SQL columns should really have the column name and the renamed name in here. So, well, okay, yeah. So I think we have this SQL database, SQL columns hierarchy because database contains columns, and then we have our view hierarchy that goes tables to, database to tables to columns, and then we have the working table stuff that goes table to columns. They're all kind of parallel. I don't know, like how much we have crossed over. But yeah, like what if SQL columns knew the revised columns, and then we would pass it the same list twice for now, and then we can either get from the UI to the working schema, or we can get from the working schema back. Either one could come first. So let's, oh gosh. And that makes me think like maybe this structure should be an explicit thing too, that it just knows them. And that really sounds a lot like, well, it sounds a lot like TableSelection. All right. So, okay, if SQL columns knew a list of the renamed columns, I guess it's the parallel list. Is this? Oh. Well, okay, you working schema and a bunch of tests call this. Right. So let's look at visible columns. All right, now he gets the values. I don't know if column selection is pretty minimal. I mean, he could know his renamed name. That certainly seems within his scope, just like table knows his renamed name. Yeah, so what I'm wondering is if, where's working table, SQL columns, instead of visible columns, what if it just got a bunch of column selections? Would that hurt it? Let's try that. I don't know if I'm making working table go away, but column selection is pretty minimal. Okay. Visible columns be a selection. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is this. And is active flag, it doesn't have to look at it. One extra bit per thing is probably okay. Yeah, so let's work from that assumption that we're going to give visible columns is going to return column selections, and working table will work from that, and then we'll add that field in so working table checks or does the as thing, and then we'll hook the UI up so that it changes this. All right, I think that's a plan. All right, so make working columns return array of column selection. We may get the names better too. Make working table and friends use, well, I guess it's add a renamed column to column selection. Make them use the renamed column for the as in queries. Hook up the database, or sorry, the view. I don't know why I keep mixing those two up. Hook up the view to update the renamed column. Okay. I think that will do it. All right, we're starting with just the to do, right? Okay, good. So working columns, so it's visible columns. Visible columns returns array of column selection. Okay, and that puts it on. Callers have to do this when they want it. Column, yeah, I need my L key back. Okay, column selection, and then this goes out. All right, now that should break this. Okay, visible columns, SQL columns is going to take array of column selection. Okay, and then he can map everyone.original name. All right, so that should. Ooh, somebody's still unhappy. Nope, everybody's happy. Okay. This may have to change too at some point, but so far all I've done is I've taken column selection in table selection, we used to ask for this map to their names and return the strings. Now we're returning this, and somebody else can pull out the strings as they want to. Okay, so SQL columns will do that. Okay, so he's doing that map. SQL map, selection. Okay, so now we're going to take I don't think selection is a set of ints. Okay, so we're saying select these columns by number. Okay. No, nobody else uses that. Well, column names. Well, no, the problem is we've thrown away the selections. And so he's just got names now. He doesn't have column selections anymore. So this is the other place that creates SQL columns. So I think we're going to have to save the columns. Let columns be that, and now that can save this argument. Self.columns. Okay, so now we've saved those, and then we can take the indexes of these. Is there something that will do that? I guess we got a set. Okay, we can do columns dot enumerated. Okay, so this gives us a list of 0, this one, 1, that one, and so on. Okay, so we know the column index in here, and then we're going to filter, and then we have. Oh, come on. I got to look it up every time. Golly. N, then X. Okay, N is the count. Okay. Position and column. N. Okay, some criteria. So now we want to know if position, well, no, we want to know if selection contains position. So we don't care about column because we're selecting them by position. Okay, result equal to filter is unused. All right. And then let's assign it. Let new columns equal only the columns that are selected, and then we can return that. Okay, so I think that will peel that out enough. No? let's okay, just in case, keeping track of it a little better with the names maybe. Okay, so we have the columns. We get a list of the pairs, position, column name, or column. We only keep the ones that contain that position, and then we return the columns. And I don't think I'll need this now because my map took care of that. Okay, so I have a list, an array of columns. I return that and use it. All right, let's make sure everybody's happy. No. Oh, it's some tests in this too. Errors. Oh, well, this can just be SQL column. Actually, I don't. Wait, what? I think we can just do this. Column rows.map. Oh, maybe we got a bigger problem. So let's see, I'll go back to that. The position, it's because the selection, so I think it's going through and it's saying which columns are selected for inclusion. Now maybe that may be a different way we can do that, but it's saying column 0, column 2, 4, and 5 are selected. Now, either way, I think what's going on is the SQL database is using SQL columns for results as well as, well, I guess, yeah, it's using it for results as well as descriptions, maybe? I don't know. Column rows. Let's see what type that is. Array of string, yeah. Yeah, is active will tell you that too. So I do think there's a disconnect. I mean, the old way we had a set of these things, and so I think something worked out what positions they were based on like the order they were in the view or something, or in the table selection object or something like that. Yeah, so it may be that we can get that from that, but the problem here is the results are coming back. Column rows, we're mapping them to $0, so that's one row sub 0. Oh, for a table. Well, who's calling this? I don't know how far down to go. I wanted a smaller change. Columns 4. That's table metadata. Columns. I don't care about these so much. They're okay. They've been built around strings. Ugh. I may pay for this. Let's see. What have we changed? I think this is just going to be too big a bite. Oh, okay. But let's keep looking here. Make sure I understand what's really going on. So, I think the deal is this comes back. Well, this columns for this is sort of the metadata question. What columns do you have? And so he puts those in. I guess he could create a column selection at this point. All he needs is the name. Okay, so let's do that. Like I said, I don't like having quite so many open things, but column selection. So $0 is the list of table names, one per row, and we're turning it's the list of column names, one per row. We're turning each one into a column selection. All right, and then there's still a bunch of tests, but if it's only tests that are complaining, it's not as concerning. Okay, that succeeded. Now the tests, and there's going to be a bunch. Okay, because anybody creating visible columns, right? He's got to map it. To original name. How bad is this? Okay, fake metadata. That's okay. Yeah, that one I can deal with. Original columns, SQL columns, the columns, right? I think those are still okay. Right. These are all and only tests that are affected by this. I don't know if I could give selection the original column names instead of visible columns. Yeah, I'm kind of trying not to break every test out there. Now, some of these where they're mucking with SQL columns, they're going to have to change. But these ones that are looking at visible columns, I think there's probably a reasonable question in there. So let's change column selection a little bit. No, table selection. He's got visible columns. I think let's give him active columns. Okay, and that is this. And this is active columns dot map to $0 dot original name. Okay. Now, whoops. this goes back to string. Okay, so I'm keeping this as is for the benefit of all these other places. And if they're only tests, that might argue for this being more of a helper. This is the one I'm going to use in database selection though. So this passes activeColumns. activeColumns. Okay, so let's run those. I think, like I said, there'll still be a few classes that complain, 3 or 4. Okay, fake metadata certainly. Yeah, I think these are less clear. Okay, so this again, we're creating a bunch of column names, and let's map them to column selection of $0. Okay, and this is, well, it's empty. Okay. I think that covers that one. Now this one, columns. Well, he's creating a, he's creating a full. I think he really needs the columns. Map that. Select statement tests. This is, yeah, I think that's the same thing. Same kind of thing. It's really testing the database query code. This is selected column. Cannot find in scope. Why not? Have I misspelled it? Column selection. Yes, I have. Okay. SQL columns tests. Okay, yes, those definitely need to. And I've got my reversed. Columns. Okay. Selected column sub 0 should be, I think it should be original name. Columns, oh. No. selected columns. Oh, what's select doing? He's returning SQL columns. And this is returning string. Column names. SQL columns, sub 1. Is string? Oh, it is. Okay. Okay, so I think we fixed those. SQL columns, columns. Well, let's see who calls this. The columns. Okay, it looks like they don't have the SQL columns yet. All right. Column selection of $0. We've written that like 5 times. That's a little suspicious to me, but we'll see if we're getting through things here. Some of this will work itself out as we get more and more things to use the selectable columns. I mean, some of the people that are now using it should be getting it from the renamed value, so they'll want something different. All right, well, that's encouraging. Okay, so we made SQL columns take array of column selection rather than array of string, and we added activeColumns to get that list back. Okay, make visible columns. Well, add active columns, returning column selections. Okay, add a renamed column to column selection. I think that's easy enough to do. Now nothing's pulling this right now. I don't think we have column selection tests. No. It's really down in the data bag area where it's just a bunch of fields and no real deep behavior, other than we have this toggle function. Let renamed name be a string. And we'll start the same. Okay. Now, whoops, I meant to run tests. Oh, well, there we go. Visible. Wait, are we finding stuff that wasn't there before? Old messages. Okay. Xcode likes to keep those around for some reason. You change it, and then it thinks, oh, maybe you still made those same mistakes. Okay, I mean, I expected that to be harmless, but it's there. Make column selection. No, it's renamed name. I don't know if name is getting a bit redundant there. Okay, and that's kind of a no harm preparatory thing, I guess you'd say. All right, make them use this in the queries. All right, I think given the time today, let's we'll just poke around a little, but we're not going to try and change anything. So I just want to look for that as, whoops, and I think it's in SQL database. Is that who generates code? We're finding it is not. Okay. Ascending here's an as. No. Well, there's an as. Working schema. Oh, select statement. Okay. All right, there's ignored. Oh, yeah, we can see it there. Okay, so for a normal column, an active column, we take the working column, and for an inactive column, we do an as on it. So that's the kind of place we're going to have to look for. I hope there's not a lot of that. As 61. Okay, so with luck, this is the only place that really references a column name, and we'll be able to pick up there using having as a filter. Yeah, I think if you say column, I forget, do you say column, or somehow you say column in some circumstances, and then this is ignored. I don't know. We'll look at it. But I think we'll find select statement is kind of the place that does it. And then let's take a peek at its tests. Select statement now. Well, there's his tests. Yeah, T0, T1, that's the table names. T0.name. I'll have to, yeah, I guess the as is the column name, right? So, right, we want this to say column as something. Okay. Yeah, I believe select statement will probably be the focus for tomorrow. And hopefully that's kind of all it takes. I guess I should take a peek at my SQL syntax and brush up, but I think we're kind of okay. All right. Well, we're done for today. Thanks for joining. Next time is tomorrow, 2 to 4:30 Eastern or 7 to 9:30 p.m. UTC. And I think we're making good progress here. I feel like we're closing in pretty quickly, far quicker than tables went. All right. So hopefully see you tomorrow or some other time. Take care. Bye-bye.